The stars looked peaceful from Admiral Zorthax's command bridge. He stood tall, his scaled skin reflecting the blue glow of the ship's control panels. His yellow eyes narrowed as he studied the holographic display of a small blue planet. "This world called Earth has abundant resources, Admiral," said his science officer. "The natives are primitive. They have only reached their moon." Zorthax smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Perfect. The Draconian Empire needs new mining colonies. Prepare the invasion fleet." Across the galaxy, in a dark observatory in Colorado, Diane Clark rubbed her tired eyes. The astronomer had been working late again, scanning distant regions of space. A strange blip on her radar screen made her sit up straight. "That's not right," she whispered. The pattern was unlike anything she had seen before. Not a meteor, not a comet. The objects were moving in formation, changing direction in ways natural objects couldn't. Diane picked up her phone with shaking hands and called her boss. "Dr. Wright, I think you need to see this." Alan Wright arrived at the observatory within the hour, his face growing paler as Diane showed him the readings. "How long have they been on this course?" he asked. "Based on the trajectory, they'll reach Earth in 3 weeks," Diane said. "I need to make some calls." 2 days later, inside a secure underground facility in Washington, D.C., General Frank Moore paced the length of a conference table. Around him sat the hastily assembled crisis team, military officers, scientists, and government officials, all looking worried. "Ladies and gentlemen, what we're about to discuss doesn't leave this room," General Moore said. He nodded to Dr. Samantha Hayes, who stood up and clicked a button on her laptop. The large screen on the wall showed Diane Clark's radar images, now enhanced and analyzed. "These objects are ships," Dr. Hayes explained. 17 large vessels and about 30 smaller ones, moving in military formation. They're using technology far beyond our own. The room fell silent. "How do we know they're hostile?" asked a woman in a dark suit. "We don't," Dr. Hayes replied. "But they haven't attempted communication, and they're approaching at high speed." General Moore stepped forward. "We're preparing for the worst. NASA has confirmed these findings, and the President has already spoken with other world leaders. For the first time in history, all major nations are sharing military technology and resources. On the other side of the world, in a Russian military base, soldiers loaded new weapons onto fighter jets. In China, scientists worked around the clock on experimental defense systems. European space agencies redirected satellites to track the approaching fleet. Back in America, Diane Clark was now working directly with Dr. Hayes in the underground facility. They analyzed every bit of data coming from the approaching ships. "Their technology must use some form of faster-than-light travel," Diane said, pointing to her calculations. "But once they entered our solar system, they slowed down dramatically." "That gives us a little more time," Dr. Hayes replied. "Maybe they're studying us." Out in space, Admiral Zorthax received the first detailed scans of Earth. "Such a primitive species," he said to his commanders. "Their most advanced weapons are nuclear missiles and crew aircraft. They have no planetary shields, no orbital defenses." "Should we offer them a chance to surrender?" asked a younger officer. Zorthax laughed. "Why waste the time? Their civilization will make an interesting footnote in our history books. The conquest will be quick." As the Draconian fleet passed Mars, Earth's leaders made a historic announcement to the public. Panic spread in some areas, but in others, people came together. Scientists shared research openly. Engineers worked together on defense plans. Soldiers from countries that had been enemies for generations now trained side by side. In the control room, General Moore looked at the latest satellite images of the approaching fleet. "How ready are we?" he asked Dr. Hayes. She took a deep breath. "Not ready enough, but we'll fight with everything we have." The first Draconian scout ships entered Earth's orbit, cloaked and silent, preparing to map the planet's defenses before the main fleet arrived. The invasion of Earth had begun. Navy Commander Peter Russell stood in the underground hangar, staring at the gleaming spacecraft before him. Unlike anything built by human hands before, its hull shimmered with an odd metallic finish. "Beautiful, isn't she?" Lisa Johnson walked up beside him, wiping grease from her hands with a rag. The engineer's eyes showed pride in her creation. "We built her using what we learned from the crashed scout ship." "Crashed scout ship?" Peter raised an eyebrow. Lisa nodded. "Happened 8 years ago in Arizona. The government kept it quiet. Only a handful of people know about it." Peter ran his hand along the smooth hull. "And this thing can actually fly in space. Better than that. She can fight." Lisa tapped a panel, revealing hidden weapon ports. "These are based on the alien tech. Not as powerful as theirs, but it's a start." Across the facility, General Moore reviewed the latest satellite data with Dr. Hayes. The images showed the first wave of Draconian scout ships moving into position. "They're establishing an orbital pattern," Dr. Hayes pointed. "Classic military recon formation." "How long until the main fleet arrives?" Moore asked. 3 days, maybe 4. She handed him another report. "We've detected unusual energy readings from their scout ships, some kind of scanning technology." "Can they detect our hidden bases?" "We don't think so. The bunkers are lined with special materials that should block their scans." In space, a Draconian scout ship commander reported to Admiral Zorthax. "The primitives are more organized than expected, Admiral. They've moved most of their military assets to sheltered positions." Zorthax waved a clawed hand dismissively. "It will make no difference." "Have you located their leaders?" "Not yet. Their communications are surprisingly difficult to intercept. They seem to be using old-fashioned methods. Physical messengers, wired connections." "Clever, but futile," Zorthax said. "Deploy the ground teams. I want eyes on the surface." In the small coastal town of Millfield, Hal Martinez walked his dog along the beach at sunset. The former military intelligence officer had moved here for peace and quiet after 15 years of service. Now he paused, noticing something strange in the water, a faint glow beneath the waves near the cliffs. The next morning, Paul noticed unmarked vans driving through town. The men inside didn't look like locals. His old instincts kicked in. He began taking notes: license plates, times, locations. 3 days later, Paul was hiking in the woods near the cliffs when he saw the men in black uniforms entering a cave. He waited until they left, then carefully approached. The cave entrance looked normal, but something felt wrong. Inside the Pentagon, Commander Russell met with 20 elite pilots chosen from air forces around the world. "You've all been briefed on what we're facing," he said. "These experimental craft are our best shot against their scout ships. We need to take down as many as we can before the main fleet arrives." "What about civilians?" asked one pilot. "People are going to see us fighting aliens in the sky. The president is making an announcement tonight," Russell replied. "The truth can't be hidden any longer." That evening, the world watched as the president confirmed what many had suspected. Earth was facing an alien invasion. But instead of panic, a wave of resolve swept across the planet. People volunteered for emergency services. Retired soldiers reported for duty. Scientists shared research openly. In his command ship, Admiral Zorthax watched the human broadcasts with amusement. "They think they can resist," he said to his officers. "Launch the first attack wave. Target their primitive satellites and defense systems." The order went out, and 50 small Draconian fighters deployed from the scout ships. They descended toward Earth, weapons charged. But as they entered the atmosphere, something unexpected happened. 3 experimental Earth ships rose to meet them, moving with surprising speed and agility. Commander Russell sat in the lead ship's cockpit, hands steady on the controls as he led humanity's first space battle. "Remember your training," he said into his comm. "Use their size against them. They're not expecting a fight." The Draconian fighters fired, expecting easy victories. Instead, the Earth ships dodged with unexpected skill. Then they fired back with weapons that shouldn't have existed on such a primitive world. The battle had begun, and the invaders were about to learn their first lesson about humanity. Commander Russell's ship rolled sharply right as a beam of energy passed by. The Draconian fighter chasing him was fast, but not as nimble. Russell pulled up suddenly, cutting his engines. For a moment, his ship hung in the air. The alien fighter shot past beneath him. Russell fired, hitting the enemy ship's rear section. It spiraled down, trailing smoke. "Got one," he called over the radio. "These ships handle better than we expected. 2 more on your tail," warned his wingman. In orbit, Sub-Commander Drez watched the battle with growing concern. 3 of his fighters were already down. The humans were using tactics he had never seen before, flying directly into attack paths, then dodging at the last second, using the sun to blind sensors, working in pairs to trap his fighters. "This is unexpected," Drez reported to Admiral Zorthax. "Their ships are crude but effective, and their pilots showed no fear." "Send more fighters," Zorthax ordered. "Crush this pathetic resistance." In the underground laboratory, Dr. Hayes studied data from the ongoing battle. Each time a Draconian ship was damaged, their sensors recorded valuable information. "Look at this," she pointed to a screen showing energy readings. "Their navigation systems go haywire when hit with certain electromagnetic frequencies." Lisa Johnson leaned closer. "You think we can disrupt their ships without even shooting them?" "If we can build a device to generate the right pulse, yes." Dr. Hayes turned to a team of engineers. "We need to design this fast." Meanwhile, in Millfield, Paul Martinez watched through binoculars as more unmarked vans arrived at the cave entrance. He had been observing for days, collecting photos and notes. Something big was happening there. A twig snapped behind him. Paul spun around to find a woman pointing a shotgun at his chest. "Don't move," she said. "Sheriff's Department. Want to explain why you're spying on my town." Paul slowly raised his hands. "I'm Paul Martinez, former military intelligence. Something strange is going on in that cave. I think it's connected to the alien invasion." The woman, Sheriff Kate Miller according to her badge, didn't lower her weapon. "Prove it." Paul carefully reached for his pocket and pulled out his old military ID, then showed her the photos he'd taken. "Those aren't humans going in and out of there." Kate studied the images, her expression changing. "Last week, 3 people went missing near those cliffs. The mayor told me to drop the investigation." "I think we have a common problem," Paul said. In space, the battle intensified. More Earth ships joined the fight as Commander Russell led a daring attack on the largest scout ship. Their weapons damaged its outer hull, forcing it to retreat to higher orbit. The victory was short-lived. A second wave of Draconian fighters emerged from the scout ships, more than twice the number of the first attack. "Fall back to the atmosphere," Russell ordered his pilots. "Use the cloud cover. Make them chase us." The Earth ships dove toward the planet, leading the Draconians into a trap. Hidden anti-aircraft batteries opened fire as the alien ships followed. 5 Draconian fighters exploded in midair. Sub-Commander Drez watched his forces being outmaneuvered by a species that, according to their intelligence, had never fought a space battle before. "We should delay the main assault," he suggested to Admiral Zorthax. "These humans are more resourceful than we expected." Zorthax slammed his fist on the control panel. "They are insects. Continue the attack." Back in the laboratory, Dr. Hayes had a breakthrough. "The pulse needs to be modulated exactly like this," she said, showing a frequency pattern. "Their ships use quantum navigation. This disrupts the field." "How close do we need to be?" Lisa asked. "Too close," Dr. Hayes admitted. "We'd need to deliver it directly to their main fleet." At the cave entrance, Paul and Sheriff Kate watched from hiding as a group of creatures emerged. Tall, scaled beings walking on 2 legs, wearing armor that seemed to shift colors to match their surroundings. "Definitely not human," Kate whispered. Paul nodded grimly. "And they're building something big in there." Dr. Hayes and Lisa Johnson worked without rest. The laboratory was filled with the smell of hot electronics and coffee. On the main screen, satellite images showed the Draconian main fleet approaching Earth. They had less than 24 hours. "The EMP device is almost ready," Lisa said, connecting delicate wires inside a spherical object. "But we need to test it." General Moore entered the room, followed by two soldiers escorting a prisoner, a tall, reptilian creature with gray scales and yellow eyes. The Draconian officer wore torn armor and had a bandaged wound on his arm. "Meet Vexlar," Moore said. "Shot down over Nevada yesterday. He's decided to talk." Dr. Hayes approached the alien cautiously. "Can you understand me?" "Your language is simple," Vexlar replied in a raspy voice. "Our ships scan and learn all communications." "Why is your fleet attacking Earth?" she asked. Vexlar's mouth formed what might have been a smile. "Resources. Labor. Your planet is convenient." Lisa stepped forward. "Tell us about your navigation systems." The alien's eyes narrowed. "Why would I reveal military secrets?" "Because Admiral Zorthax abandoned you," General Moore said. "We monitored your distress calls. No one came for you." Vexlar was silent for a long moment. "The Empire discards those who fail. I am nothing to them now." He pointed to the EMP device. "That will not work as you hope. The modulation is wrong." In Millfield, Paul and Sheriff Kate crawled through dense underbrush toward the cave entrance. They had spent days observing the alien activity, counting guards and mapping patrol patterns. "There's a gap between shifts," Paul whispered. 10 minutes when the entrance is barely guarded." Kate checked her watch. "That's in 15 minutes. You sure about this? We need to know what they're building." Paul adjusted the small camera on his cap. "If it's a weapon, the military needs to know." When the time came, they moved quietly toward the entrance. Only one Draconian guard remained, standing half-hidden in the shadows. Kate raised her pistol, but Paul shook his head and pointed to a rock. He threw it far to the left, creating a noise in the bushes. The guard moved to investigate. Paul and Kate slipped inside the cave. What they found inside made them freeze in shock. The cave opened into a massive cavern filled with alien equipment. In the center stood a tower of metal and pulsing energy, reaching 30 feet high. "That's no weapon," Paul whispered. "It's a signal amplifier." Kate took photos with her phone. "What's it for?" "To disable our electronics when their main fleet arrives," Paul realized. "We need to warn someone." As they turned to leave, they came face to face with a Draconian soldier. Before they could react, the alien raised its weapon. In orbit, Commander Russell led a daring mission to capture a Draconian scout ship. 3 Earth fighters surrounded the damaged alien vessel, forcing it to power down. "Boarding team, move in," Russell ordered through his radio. Wearing experimental spacesuits, Russell and 5 soldiers entered the alien ship through a damaged airlock. They moved through strange corridors until they reached the bridge. 2 injured Draconians surrendered without a fight. "Download everything," Russell told his tech specialist. "Ship specifications, fleet positions, communication codes, everything." Back at the laboratory, Dr. Hayes made adjustments to the EMP device based on Vexlar's reluctant advice. "The Empire has conquered 17 worlds," the Draconian prisoner explained. "None have resisted like Earth. Your species is unusual." "How?" Lisa asked. "You cooperate without a hive mind. You adapt quickly. You fight even when victory seems impossible." Vexlar's voice held a note of respect. "In the Empire, failure means death. Success means everything. That's your weakness," Dr. Hayes realized. "Your leaders can't admit when they're wrong." At the United Nations emergency session, world leaders argued about how to respond to the approaching fleet. "We should attempt communication," the French representative insisted. "Offer peace." "They come as conquerors," the Chinese delegate countered. "We must strike first with everything we have." The debate was interrupted when an aide rushed in with new information from Commander Russell's captured ship. The Draconian main fleet was arriving sooner than expected. They would reach Earth within hours. Time was running out. The Draconian soldier raised his weapon at Paul and Sheriff Kate. In that frozen moment, Paul noticed something odd. The alien's hand trembled. A shot rang out. The Draconian fell. Behind him stood another alien, holding the smoking weapon. "Not all of us support this invasion," the new Draconian said in halting English. "I am Kelvar, science officer. Come quickly." Paul and Kate exchanged startled glances, but followed Kelvar deeper into the cave system, away from the signal amplifier. Kelvar led them to a small chamber filled with communication equipment. "Some in our empire believe peaceful contact is better than conquest," Kelvar explained. "Admiral Zorthax represents the old way. I can help you destroy the amplifier." In orbit, the first ships of the Draconian main fleet appeared, massive vessels that dwarf the scout ships. The Earth's combined military forces moved into defensive positions. Fighter jets scrambled. Missile batteries were made ready. Experimental energy weapons powered up. General Moore stood in the command center, watching screens showing the approaching fleet. "All units, prepare for engagement," he ordered. "Remember your training. Remember what we're fighting for." Commander Russell and his team returned from their mission with the captured scout ship data. Technicians immediately began analyzing the information. "Their main weapons target these frequencies," Russell explained to General Moore, pointing to charts. "If we can adjust our defenses to these specifications, we might have a chance." In the laboratory, Dr. Hayes finished the final adjustments to the EMP device. "It's ready," she told Lisa Johnson. "But we need to get it close to their command ship." "How close?" Lisa asked. "Within 5 miles. Any farther, and the effect will be too weak." Lisa frowned. "None of our aircraft can get that close without being destroyed." Dr. Hayes looked at the captured scout ship in the hangar below. "We might not need our aircraft." On Admiral Zorthax's command ship, Observer Krell watched the preparations for the final assault. As the Empire's political representative, his job was to ensure the invasion followed proper protocols. What he saw troubled him deeply. "Admiral," Krell said, "regulations require offering surrender terms before planetary bombardment." Zorthax's yellow eyes narrowed. "These humans have caused enough delays. They destroyed scout ships. They captured our technology. They must be punished." "The Council will not approve of this," Krell warned. "The Council is not here," Zorthax hissed. "I am in command. Prepare all weapons. We attack in 1 hour." Krell stepped away, discreetly activating a recording device in his uniform. The Admiral's actions were becoming increasingly erratic, potentially damaging to the Empire's interests. Back in the Millfield cave system, Paul, Kate, and Kelvar planned to sabotage the signal amplifier. The alien showed them diagrams of the device. "The power core is here," Kelvar pointed. "Damage it, and the entire system fails." "Why are you helping us?" Kate asked suspiciously. Kelvar's scaled face showed what might have been sadness. "My homeworld was once like Earth, independent, diverse. The Empire changed that. Not all conquests are worth the cost." At the United Nations, world leaders received the news that the main Draconian fleet had arrived. The room fell silent as satellite images showed the massive ships positioning themselves around Earth. "We are out of time for debate," the Secretary General said. "We must stand together or fall together." In the laboratory, Commander Russell volunteered to lead the mission to deliver the EMP device. "I'll take a small team in the captured scout ship," he said. "We can approach their command vessel without raising suspicion." Dr. Hayes handed him the device, now modified to fit into a small case. "Remember, it has to be within 5 miles of their central fleet. Once activated, you'll have 3 minutes to get clear before it detonates." "Understood," Russell nodded grimly. General Moore clasped Russell's shoulder. "The fate of our world depends on this mission, Commander." No pressure, right? Russell managed a tight smile. As Earth braced for the assault, Russell and his team boarded the captured scout ship. The modified Draconian vessel rose from the secret base, heading toward the waiting fleet. The counterattack had begun. Commander Russell guided the captured scout ship toward the Draconian fleet. His heart raced, but his hands remained steady on the controls. 4 soldiers sat behind him, each checking their weapons. "Remember the plan," Russell said. "We pose as a damaged scout returning to the fleet. Once we're close enough, we activate the EMP device and get out fast." The communications panel lit up. A harsh voice spoke in the Draconian language. "They're asking for identification," said Lieutenant Harris, who had studied the alien language. He pressed a button, sending the codes they had taken from the captured ship's database. 10 seconds passed. Then the voice returned, now in English. "Scout Ship Talon, you are cleared to approach. Report to Hangar Bay 3 for inspection." Russell nodded to his team. They took the bait. Now comes the hard part. Meanwhile, Paul, Kate, and Kelvar prepared to sabotage the signal amplifier in the cave. They had packed explosive charges at key structural points around the power core. "When this blows, every Draconian in the area will come running," Paul warned. Kate checked her pistol. "How long do we have to get clear?" 2 minutes, Kelvar replied, setting the timer. "The explosion will collapse this entire cave system." Paul looked at the alien who had chosen to betray his own kind. "What happens to you after this?" "They'll know you helped us." Kelvar's scales shifted color slightly, showing emotion. "If your people win, perhaps there is a place for me here. If not..." He didn't finish the sentence. In Washington, D.C., General Moore watched as Earth unveiled its hidden defenses. What appeared to be ordinary satellites suddenly transformed, revealing advanced weapon systems secretly developed after the first alien scout ship crashed years ago. "All orbital defense platforms, prepare to fire on my command," Moore ordered. Dr. Hayes stood beside him, monitoring the EMP device's signal. Russell's team is approaching the Draconian command ship. They're almost in position. On the main Draconian command ship, Admiral Zorthax prepared to begin the planetary bombardment. "Target their major cities first," he commanded. "Then their military installations." Observer Krell stepped forward. "Admiral, I must officially protest this action. The Council requires." "The Council is not here," Zorthax roared. "I will not be questioned by a political appointee." The bridge crew watched uneasily as their admiral's temper flared. Some exchanged worried glances. "Commence firing," Zorthax ordered. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared. A junior officer looked up from his console. "Admiral, Earth's defenses are activating. They have orbital weapons we did not detect." "Impossible." Zorthax slammed his fist on his command chair. As Russell's team approached the massive Draconian command ship, energy weapons from Earth opened fire. Beams of blue light struck the smaller Draconian vessels, causing significant damage. "Earth is attacking," Russell said with a grim smile. "Perfect timing. The fleet will be distracted." He guided their ship closer to the command vessel, carefully avoiding the battle now raging around them. When they were in position, he nodded to his weapons officer. "Activate the EMP device. Start the countdown." In the Millfield cave, Paul, Kate, and Kelvar finished setting the charges and started running toward the exit. They had barely made it halfway when they heard shouts behind them. Draconian soldiers had discovered their sabotage. "Keep going," Paul yelled as laser fire hit the wall beside them. Kate stopped, turned, and fired her pistol, buying them a few precious seconds. The 3 continued running as the timer counted down. The signal amplifier exploded with a thunderous roar. The cave shook violently. Rocks fell from the ceiling. The ground beneath their feet cracked. They kept running as the entire structure began to collapse behind them. In space, the EMP device on Russell's ship reached the end of its countdown. A wave of energy pulsed outward, invisible but powerful. It washed over the Draconian fleet, targeting the specific frequencies of their navigation systems. One by one, the alien ships began to drift. Their weapons stopped firing. Their engines failed. The massive command ship listed to one side, its lights flickering. On the Draconian bridge, panic erupted as systems failed across the ship. "What is happening?" Zorthax demanded. "Unknown energy pulse," an officer reported. "All navigation and propulsion systems are failing." Observer Krell watched silently, recording everything. The invasion of Earth had just taken an unexpected turn. On the bridge of the Draconian command ship, chaos reigned. Officers shouted reports as systems failed throughout the vessel. Emergency lights cast an eerie red glow over the scene. "Get our weapons back online," Admiral Zorthax roared, his scales flaring with rage. "Impossible, Admiral," his chief engineer replied. "The navigation system is linked to all major functions. Without it, we are dead in space." Zorthax drew his sidearm and pointed it at the engineer. "Fix it or die." Before he could pull the trigger, Commander Trelvac, his second-in-command, stepped forward. "Admiral, this is not the way. Are you questioning me as well?" Zorthax turned his weapon toward Trelvac. In that moment, several officers moved at once. They surrounded Zorthax, weapons drawn. "Admiral Zorthax," Trelvac said formally, "under Empire law, I relieve you of command due to mental instability endangering the fleet." Observer Krell stepped forward. "I confirm this action as legal under Imperial Code Section 477. The fleet is yours, Commander Trelvac." Zorthax hissed in fury, but lowered his weapon as guards took it from him. "You will all pay for this treachery." Meanwhile, Commander Russell and his team raced back to their stolen scout ship. The EMP had worked better than they had hoped. Throughout the Draconian fleet, ships drifted powerless. "Mission accomplished," Russell radioed to Earth. "The Draconian fleet is disabled. Returning to base." As they flew past the command ship, something unexpected happened. Their communications panel lit up with an incoming message. "Earth vessel," a Draconian voice said in clear English. "This is Commander Trelvac, Acting Fleet Commander. We request immediate communication with your leaders." Russell exchanged surprised looks with his team. "Is this a trick?" "Only one way to find out," Lieutenant Harris replied. Back on Earth, Paul, Kate, and Kelvar emerged from the collapsing cave, coughing from the dust but alive. They ran until they reached the safety of the forest. "We did it," Paul said between breaths. "The amplifier is destroyed." Kate looked at her phone. "No signal. How do we let anyone know?" "I can help with that," Kelvar said. He removed a small device from his armor. "This can reach Earth ships in orbit." As Kelvar set up the communication device, Kate turned to Paul. "So what happens now? If we win, I mean." Paul looked up at the sky, where the battle had suddenly gone quiet. "I don't know. Everything changes, I guess. Nothing will ever be the same." In the command center, General Moore and Dr. Hayes received Russell's message about the disabled fleet. "It worked," Dr. Hayes said, relief washing over her face. "The EMP disrupted their entire fleet." Before they could celebrate, another message came through. The request for communication from Commander Trelvac. "Put it on screen," Moore ordered cautiously. The large display showed the Draconian commander standing on his bridge. Behind him, Admiral Zorthax sat under guard. "People of Earth," Trelvac began, "Admiral Zorthax has been removed from command due to his violations of Imperial law. I propose an immediate ceasefire and negotiations." Moore looked at his advisors. "Could be a trap." "I don't think so," Dr. Hayes said, studying the screen. "Look at their ship. Systems are still down. This might be genuine." After consulting with world leaders, Moore faced the screen again. "We accept your ceasefire, but understand that Earth will never surrender." "Surrender is not what I propose," Trelvac replied. The situation has changed. Observer Krell will explain. Krell stepped forward. For centuries, the Empire has expanded through conquest. But our recent internal politics have been unstable. There is a growing faction that opposes our traditional ways. And you're part of this faction, Dr. Hayes asked. Krell nodded. What has happened here at Earth may be the catalyst we needed. You have accomplished what no species has done before. You have defeated a Draconian invasion fleet. So what are you suggesting? Moore asked. An alliance, Trelvac said simply. Help us reform the Empire. And in return, we offer technology, protection, and recognition of Earth's sovereignty. On their screens, the Earth leaders could see other Draconian ships gradually restoring minimal power. They had to decide quickly. We'll need time to consider your proposal, Moore said carefully. Of course, Trelvac agreed. But know this, the news of what happened here is already spreading throughout the Empire. Everything is about to change. 6 months after the failed invasion, Earth had changed forever. The skies above major cities occasionally showed glimpses of Draconian ships, no longer threats, but allies in a fragile new partnership. In Washington, D.C., Commander Peter Russell adjusted his new uniform. As Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Council, he was about to make history. Dr. Samantha Hayes stood beside him, reviewing data on her tablet. Nervous? She asked. Russell smiled. Terrified. I'm a pilot, not a diplomat. You faced down the Draconian fleet. This should be easy in comparison. The door opened, and General Moore entered. The Draconian transport is ready, Ambassador Russell. The title still felt strange to Russell. Just half a year ago, he had been fighting for humanity's survival. Now he was heading to the stars as Earth's representative. Across the ocean in Geneva, the new Earth Draconian Technology Exchange Center bustled with activity. Lissa Johnson led a team of engineers working alongside Draconian scientists. Together, they studied spacecraft designs that would allow humans to travel beyond their solar system for the first time. The propulsion system works on principles we never considered, Lisa explained to visiting officials. Within 5 years, we'll have our own fleet of ships capable of reaching nearby star systems. In what used to be the small town of Millfield, a very different kind of exchange was happening. Paul Martinez walked with Kelvar through streets now full of both humans and Draconians. The town had become a symbol of cooperation, the first place where the two species lived side by side. Still getting strange looks? Paul asked as they passed a group of tourists taking photos. Kelvar's scales rippled with amusement. Fewer each day. Your people adapt quickly. Sheriff Kate Miller joined them, carrying coffee. The construction team found another hidden room in the cave system yesterday. More Draconian tech to study. What had once been an invasion site was now the most valuable research location on Earth. In orbit above the planet, the reformed Draconian fleet conducted training exercises alongside new Earth spacecraft. Commander Trelvac watched from the bridge of his ship as human pilots demonstrated maneuvers that had helped defeat his people. They think differently than we do, he remarked to observer Krell. It makes them unpredictable. And valuable allies, Krell added. The Empire never understood the strength in diversity. These humans have much to teach us. A junior officer approached. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council. They've received our report about Earth. Trelvac nodded. Put it through. On the main screen appeared a being unlike any human had yet seen. 6-limbed, with iridescent skin and multiple eyes. The Council has reviewed your petition, the alien said. Earth will be granted special status as a protected sovereign world. Their representative will be received at the next assembly. And the reform measures for the Empire? Krell asked. Those too have been approved. The old ways of conquest are ended. The Draconian Empire will need to find a new path forward. When the transmission ended, Trelvac turned to Krell. History has changed course, all because one small world refused to surrender. Far from Earth, in a Draconian prison colony, former Admiral Zorthax sat in his cell. On a small screen, He watched news from across the galaxy. Images showed humans and Draconians working together. Earth ships flying alongside Imperial vessels. The human Russell addressing the Galactic Council. A guard approached his cell. "You have a visitor." Dr. Hayes entered, studying the fallen admiral with curious eyes. "Why are you here?" Zorthax demanded. "To understand," she replied simply. "You came to conquer us. Instead, you changed the galaxy." Zorthax looked away. "I failed." "No," Hayes said. "You succeeded in a way you never intended. Your invasion forced two species to find a better way forward." As she left, Zorthax turned back to the screen. The universe he had known was gone. A new order was rising, one built on cooperation instead of conquest, and it had all begun with a simple mistake: underestimating a small blue planet and its determined inhabitants. Across the galaxy, the story spread like wildfire. The Draconian fleet that vanished without a trace had not been destroyed. It had been transformed. And Earth, once an insignificant world on the edge of the galaxy, was now at the center of a new age.